Well, Lawrence, let's fire it off again. Here we are, one more squeaky wheel, and it just happens that another year has gone by, and as fortunate as we are, we're bringing on a fabulous guest who just happens to be related to me, who our audience and listeners have seen before. But, you know, there's, if like any situation, trying to find somebody who has a bit of, you know, the awareness, the knowledge, the connection with the community, and who's willing to participate and sometimes have conversation about things that people may find difficult or new subjects that they need to, explore. Once again, get a chance to welcome my father, 33-year, having served soldier veteran, Aboriginal veteran, or I guess the term might now be Indigenous veteran of the, our Canadian Armed Forces, to our show. Lawrence, I know we have a number of things we're gonna get to, and often, we take through a bit of our conversation as we move, and then bring our guests on. But, I think the way the world is shaping up, and when it comes to our conversations and connections, adding one more voice into each one of the conversations that we have through our podcast, I don't think is going to be a bad thing, because I can guarantee George will have his opinion on whether or not the Astros should have even made it to the World Series. He'll have a comment or opinion about some of the NHL. And I know we have a number of topics that we'd like to cover when it comes down to some of the things that are affecting the Métis Nation, both in different federal respects, as well as, some of the things that are occurring right here in our province. So welcome to the show, my very good father, George Pambrun.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to work with you two and what you guys are doing with these podcasts. I think it's great. Thank you.
Lawrence, one of the things I think we wanted to jump into right away, because, and I definitely want to get, Dad's opinion on this one of there's a couple of things that were happening as we lead into, Remembrance Day, where we're all going to celebrate and share our connection and gather to recognize our veterans, our serving members, the families of those serving members, and the families that have participated in the work that our veterans have done. The poppy sales. George, take us through a little bit about, because, I'm curious, have you spent just as many years since you've retired selling poppies as you have the 33 years that you spent in the military?
No, it hasn't been until the later years here in Okotoks that that I've got involved with the Legion. I've always been I've been a member of the Legion for about 35 years. And my participation has been limited. I think it's a great organization. They support the communities. At one time there wasn't a village, town, or city that didn't have, a Legion or a few legions like Calgary and Edmonton. But wherever you go, you'll go through a village and you'll see Legion Park. So they support the ball, the soccer, the hockey, and it's just a great way to my being a member, to offer to support to them. So they do that. They have cadet leagues. They support that. Excellent program, the cadet program, and I really can't say enough of what they do for the community. Now the last couple of years here, the first year, I was going to be selling for the 10 days, and then I got sick. And then last year, I was going to commit myself again, and I did the first day, and then Mom had went out to lunch with with some of her cohorts there, and one person had tested positive. So, well, I had to beg off again, and then we had to self isolate for 10 days. So, I guess I've been involved mentally, but not physically. But the poppy sales have really been going good. Last year, apparently, they in this Okotoks here, they made $120,000 or $130,000 just locally. This year, now I've been selling from, I think I volunteered for about 7 days. Both Mom and I, she volunteered for 3 days, and but the first day that, and this is just at Walmart, we made $1,400 that first day. So people are getting out there, and they're not afraid to donate. So.
Oh, good, because we know we're starting to see again. We know we're starting to see more traffic now. We're hopefully starting to see that people are continuing to contribute back to their communities. Lawrence, I guess I got a question that I'd like to throw out your way, and I'd like George's opinion on it. Lawrence, my question, I guess, comes around the idea of the politics. You and I have often talked about the idea of don't do something about us without us. And now Chestermere recently had put, somebody had gone and put a nice display, as it were, of poppies as a crosswalk. Now, I know you often comment, a lot of communities end up starting to do things without connecting with the Métis Nation, without connecting with you as the regional president, right? I know your phone is always available for anybody to call. And yet here communities start to make these kind of actions. They go, well, look, we're doing something. We're doing something for these individuals. Again, I go back to my statement, and I've made many times, not about us without us. Maybe comment, Lawrence, about how it seems as though I don't understand why some of these municipalities don't reach out to you, or in the case of the Legion or the Poppies, because it seems as though there's a bit of anger or frustration with the idea that now we are walking across this crosswalk, we're walking on the poppies, and are we doing a disservice, or are we offending, people within that community?
Well, I don't know. Maybe just people have a reluctance. They get into these roles and they want to, indigenize, or they want to work with communities. And, if they're not reaching out, or they're not making their efforts, maybe their jobs are easier that way. I'm really not sure. Because if I was in that role and I was certainly going to commemorate a community or have, showcase them, I would probably reach out to them for them to maybe come in and tell me all about it, because I don't assume I know everything, and I don't know everything about what goes on in the Legion or being a soldier. But, I would probably reach out to the Legion for that, and try to get their input, and then work on establishing that connectedness, that meaningful connectedness, right? So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a good idea with good intentions. And from what I understand, it was by, I think it was a high school student, young man. And, he was with all good intentions of contributing to the soldiers and the military in general. A little bit of research, before you do something like that, because the poppy is held very sacredly, by all Canadians, and it should be. And this is one of the things that they said, like, was walking across that crosswalk would be just like walking on the flag, so they could have saved themselves a lot of headaches just by talking to different members and and there's municipality Legion members, there's provincial, and there's also Dominion, across Canada. So and it's just a phone call away or just an email away, just to clarify it. And I think that would have been the better thing. But I do respect the young fella's intentions. But I'm selling poppies, and I see students come in, and a lot of them don't have money, or they don't have the change, and they want to spend it on, they come in there. There's a McDonald's in Walmart, and so I call them over, and I say, take a poppy. Oh, are they free? I said no, but I said they've been paid for. By the lives of those soldiers that had given their life. And I said, but I said, take one. I want you to wear it. And it's sort of the same thing with young families and that. And I say, take a poppy, wear it. And we got little stickers that you can put on for the kids, so they're not going to jab themselves with the. Yeah, no.
Well, my attitude sort of is that it, much like it creates conversation, and it allows for people to now open the dialogue. And again, I don't think we should villainize this young gentleman, and I wasn't aware it was a young fellow, but who was trying to do something with good intent. Even if he had asked and somebody within the organization said, oh, well, you know what, that seems like a good idea. And it's not about, at the end of the day, about blaming somebody in the fact that, somebody was offended by, people walking on the crosswalk, as far as I'm concerned. But if both parties could say, boy, we did have a conversation, and even within our conversation, we lacked a little of the understanding on both sides, but the conversation was happening. Right? I think that, to me, is often the best approach. We can't assume just because somebody asked another agency and said, and they both, or they had a bit of an allowance. Hey, there's always somebody who's going to be offended, no matter what. Even if they'd drawn some beautiful poppies in the sky, somebody's going to say, well, a plane flies through that. I'm offended that a plane could fly through that. But I think the important thing is that, again, it's just about that we have some dialogue, some awareness that your actions are being, recognized. And, who wouldn't want to be on the other side of, in the case of the Legion, when somebody's doing something very considerate, that we could say, thank you for participating. We would like to be a part of sharing the efforts that you've done. So I think that's probably, to me, always ends up being one of the most important messages. Did we communicate? Did we share that? And just as you're saying there, Dad, the fact that a lot of these people are completely unaware, and culturally, when other cultures come, and now they're unaware of what our Canada's role was in participating in different wars or peacekeeping missions, and or still the work that they're doing. Well, unless they come up and somebody says, yeah, please take one and let's be a part of the conversation. And, you pay it forward next year. They go, boy, I've learned a little bit more each time. And now they might be, willing to contribute. But you're right. Nowadays, kids don't even carry change. So I know that there are new methods in order for people to be able to share and contribute. And a big shout out to Bow Valley College, who's very generously, sent this to me because, Dad, you and I have participated a number of times in their Remembrance Day ceremonies. And I know, Lawrence, you get invited. I can only imagine the countless number of ceremonies through the year. And we need to say thanks to all these organizations, as they are the ones who continue to bring us into the conversation. And in fact, Michelle Fournier, and I think everybody who's listening should look that up on Avenue Magazine, was one of the nominees, and she was recently in the class of 40 under 40. So big shout out to her and her roles within the Indigenous community and her connection with Bow Valley College, who, one of the other institutions that's creating opportunities in a number of different ways for Indigenous youth, and in fact, anybody who wants to participate in going back to school.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Send me either a copy of that or exactly what the award was, and I'll email her and congratulate her for that.
Oh yeah, one of the things I'd like to jump onto, fellas, is the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan and the idea of self-identification. Lawrence, I know you've brought it up a little bit before because it's a little different from each of the provinces. Now in Saskatchewan, there's 18,500 Métis registered. It seems as though there may be upwards of the theory being, or the estimation, 80,000 within that whole province. But there's a big issue going on out there right now federally, and I'd like you to talk, Lawrence, just a little bit about Carrie. And how does identification, how do we feel like it should be? How do we get into that conversation so that those individuals who should be, within the registration, within the citizenship, how do we work on that? Lawrence, I know you've learned a lot about it. I'd like to hear your opinion, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, being a minister of education, training, and research, and being in charge, not really charge, but certainly being an advisory to a lot of money that comes in from Canada, specifically for Métis students here in Alberta. And I don't think it really changes with the other province because it's the same plot of money, the ISETS money, they call it now. But, certainly we fight tooth and nail for our share for our Métis students. Like it's not a given that we get a certain amount. We have to go negotiate. We have to certainly negotiate with Canada on our amount. So, there is a bit of a back and forth, and we do this over a few times over the year. Like it's not something that's easy. And when we see students that self-identify, yes, we go, okay, well, maybe there's some validity to that. But do they qualify for these scholarships? Because these are geared for Métis students. That's the big question. But if you go through about 20 years of schooling and you still can't really produce a proper connection, then yes, the community is going to go, okay, well now it's a little bit a different story. We've given you this money because you've proclaimed yourself as a Métis person. And over a number of years, you still haven't produced any of the truth around your identity. Then all these things start to come out. And I think the issue with Carrie Bourassa was, her sister was the one who said, I'm not Métis. My husband did the genealogy. We have no connection. And then when they looked at Carrie Bourassa, her sister, well then she was a professor, director in health sciences for Canada, and institutions have said, yes, she's Métis. But it's not up to them to say she's Métis, right? So, and that's the bigger issues. She's obviously not working with our community in a proper manner that she can identify very, very quickly. So, the other professors, her colleagues, have said, "Well, no, she's not Métis."
And I think, and I guess one of the things that I struggle with, but I'm trying to get a better handle on. And I'm going to throw it here as an idea, and I'm not going to use any cultures within this terrestrial planet that my satellites that watch, because somehow somebody's going to be offended. But let's look at the idea of Vulcans and the idea, if you found something within that culture, this is just what you like to do. Obviously, this screams that I'm a Star Trek person, and it gives you strength and it gives you connection and it allows people for you to grow as an individual. Just that one action. Now, by doing that and by celebrating that, are you offending somebody? Now, to me, if you were saying, hey, university, I identify as Vulcan, therefore I want all of the rights that would be bequeathed a Vulcan. I would personally think that I don't agree with that. But I think that if, yes, you had a bit of identification and history that says, there is some lineage here. My family along the route has some Vulcan involvement. We were right, the genealogy. I think there needs to be some allowance. But I don't want to be the person who says, if you're not Vulcan, that you can't do this, because it might give you strength and it showcases the fact that you have some awareness and connection with the community. So I personally think that I want people to be very conscientious of the fact that there's a difference between recognizing, celebrating another culture in a way that is positive, is powerful, but don't try to, take advantage of something that wasn't, created for you, wasn't there for you, wasn't there for the culture, the history, the reconciliation, right? That should be there.
Yeah. I mean, and in her case, she certainly wrote a book about, being Métis, and, certainly having it was the shared experience that we've had, and that, but not being it. So, we have to, as a community, go, well, do we accept that in? Do we adopt it? Do we listen to what she's saying? Because it's not the shared experience. She didn't grow up the same way. Her ancestors came from Europe, straight from Europe. And ours were just a little here, just a little bit longer, but the impacts and policies and all those things to our community, and all the impacts, and why our Métis community lives in a poverty rate higher than the normal. Well, then, that's our shared experience, and that's who we're trying to get these scholarships for. There's for those kids who want to go to school, who don't have access to the funds, and they just want a better life.
Yeah. Dad, George, your idea of sort of how self-identification should work, because a lot of us didn't grow up right from the grassroots, with that awareness, but culturally there was lineage, there was genealogy along the way that recognition was there.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-identified that have a cousin or a brother that has their cards. They just don't have it yet, right? So.
Yeah, but there's some family there. To me, it'd be like somebody walking around saying, well, look at the medals I have because I wish I was a soldier. Yeah, but you weren't. So why would you proclaim to celebrate that? Why would you suggest that you have that awareness? So how does that identification work in your head? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot so that we say anything offensive to anybody. Let's go back to the whole Vulcan thing.
Yeah.
Just more in the comment, I guess, of the nature of the Indigenous community, right? I'm not saying we need to live it every moment of our life, but I think we need to continue to learn to understand our role within that community.
Well, with us, Métis, between the, in between like the product of the white man and the First Nations or Indigenous, well, we're a product of that. And, I can remember in my hometown, we didn't have to self-identify in most cases because where we lived identified us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, there was the white, I would say it. I don't mean it in an offensive way.
No.
And then there was the treaty, and then the breeds or Métis. I was known as like a half breed. I knew what a Métis was. And on my birth certificate, my mother, your grandmother, they said racial origin. She wrote half breed. It's on that document. They were proud of it in one way, but that's all that they knew that they were. And like a lot of people didn't identify. And, not till later years. And in a lot of cases, it was for an advantage, whether, with school or jobs and the jobs could, go either way. But I think it's important that all the provinces do this, not just one province. All the provinces do this. That they have to. You self-identify, but you also have to prove genealogy, because Ontario, look where the population is. Quebec, look where the population is, and it's being sort of explained to me. When you got a pie, there's only so many parts of that pie. And we're talking about, contribution, like we're under province, but the money still comes from the federal government, and that money, I mean, again, we're only a small part of that pie, and we end up losing out. So you have to not only self-identify, but you got to prove genealogy. And I'd just like to add to this. The only benefit I got from this was the fact that I know partially who I am, but in the the discrimination, long before I ever knew what those words were, I knew there was something different about us. And, so we sort of paved the way. And Lawrence's family, I know the family, and eventually, whether you did it in Saskatchewan, but the jobs, a lot of the Métis migrated to Alberta and BC because there was jobs, and they were treated fairly and paid well, and all those families did well. Their children ended up with education. Lawrence's dad, him and I went to school together. He quit school in grade 8. And I asked him, I said, well, why? Well, he said, and I knew his dad, I know his family very well. They're just like family to us. Well, the boys had to get out and get a job to help support the family, because there you were either the Métis. There was some logging around, but you either worked for a farmer or a rancher and picked rocks and picked roots, and then during harvest time and seeding time. But it was all just part-time work. So there was that part. So in essence, we paved the way, for the Métis to be able to get schooling, getting some scholarships in that. In the Aboriginal veterans, we had a great organization, and we still have a small organization here in Alberta. But we built that monument in Ottawa. It's a beautiful monument. It just needs to be finished. But we also got a scholarship, and I didn't want it to go to the achievements, that organization. I want it to be controlled by the Aboriginal veterans. However, it did go to the achievement, but it's still there. But as far as the recognition for the Aboriginal veterans, it's just we're under the accolades of Shell Canada or ESO or some other organization. But
well, and now there's a beautiful opportunity for one more reason for people to connect with the Métis Crossing is that monument that was put up on behalf by the Métis Nation of Alberta to celebrate. I have a number of family members whose names are on there for our serving Indigenous veterans or have served. So again, one big shout out, thank you to the Métis for our Métis community for creating more awareness, more recognition, and the idea behind, some of the things that are happening federally. So, gentlemen, we got to jump on to a few other things, and I'm actually interested in your opinions too. On looks like the Oilers have been doing well, the Flames have been doing well. Are we all in agreement that we're okay that Houston lost the World Series because they were cheating before?
No, I think the World Series just needed to end. To be quite honest, I didn't care about either or. I just wanted it to end.
Did you? I don't know. I was just happy to have some baseball.
Yeah.
The only thing I got against the Houston, or can say against the Houston Astros, is they got caught.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sign stealing is a very common thing, right? But
Yeah.
when
Certainly.
you're banging a garbage can and people are listening for it, that's something else, right?
And wearing signaling devices. And,
that's a whole new
and then
monster.
denying it for as long as they did. Yeah, that's the part I'm so happy. I hope sad that Dusty Baker didn't get a chance to win a World Series, their manager, but because he was no part of any of that. He came in to try and be a better part of solving it. But yeah, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, I can't say thank you enough to all of our listeners, folks. Retired Sergeant Major George Pambrun has been on our podcast a number of times. Look back through some of our previous episodes. As you know, you can always reach out to us if you want to send a thumbs up or a picture of a poppy that I could forward along to George. Make sure you email us. Look us up, The Squeaky Wheel thesqueakywheel.ca. If you want to email us, the tsw@thesqueakywheel.ca. I know a lot of that information comes at the end of our show, but I can't say thank you enough, Dad. I can't say thank you enough for, the time you shared with me as we both continue to go through the learning of this Indigenous Métis journey. Lawrence, you've always been there to, your family, to support our connection, to support the awareness. You have a strong role within our community, and it's a challenging role because everybody gets a chance to throw a stone at you because you're the elected official, but there's a lot of people who put an X beside your name, and you had the guts to run. And I know as we move forward, within the next year, as we navigate our way out of the pandemic, there's still a lot of people who are looking your way to try and get some idea on how we're gonna rebuild here down in this region of Region 3 and throughout the whole province. But thank you for being a part of putting this together. I couldn't be happier to have such a fabulous co-host to share my time with.
Yeah, and if any of the viewers want to, certainly look at Métis Week, it's still a lot virtual, but there are flag raisings, in different municipalities. And if you notice that your town and your city's not doing it, well, then write them a letter and write a letter to the organization, the Métis organization, to get one lifted on November 16th. So.
Dad, this is your chance. You close us out here on the Squeaky Wheel.
We got a few minutes. I just want to show my vest, and can you see that?
You're gonna have to go a little higher. I can see your vest, but maybe it'd just be nice for the members to see the medals. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are my medals, the military ones, and these are volunteer with the Aboriginal veterans. And I wanted to show my vest because my cousin made this vest for me, and it's all hand stitched. He did a beautiful job on it. But I also wanted this, my ribbon shirt.
Yeah,
my uncle had a chuck wagon outfit. And this was back in the 50s. He even ran here in Calgary. But this is the women used to the Indigenous women used to get together, and they used like satin was a big thing in those days, and they would embroider the roses and also on the back. And in those days, I mean, there was 5 people that was involved. There was the driver, and then there was 4 outriders. Eh? So every year, as long as I can remember, that was the colors that he run under. And so when I had this ribbon shirt made by Laura. She's since passed away, but very nice lady. And so that another part, a part of our history, but I want to show you the last part. So not only do I have that. Not only do I have that shirt now, because of the Constitution getting together, I've been able to get 2 shirts. So now I've got a wardrobe of the Constitution. And I wanted to pass that on, and I've been a part of that Constitution, I guess, development. Anyway, thanks for inviting me, Lawrence.
Well, thank God he stopped there.
Yeah, folks, this is an all-age show, but
no, we appreciate George for everything, and we see him around all our events, and it's nice to have him here and raising our flags and doing all those good things, and that's it.
Thank you kindly again, Dad, for joining us and sharing your connection. I know we've had a lot of talks over the years, and as I continue to learn more. But thanks for celebrating. Thank you for your commitment to the Métis as well as to the rest of the veterans and soldiers who you represent.
The Squeaky Wheel is brought to you by the Squeaky Wheel Company, co-hosted by the President, Lawrence Gervais, Remembrance Region 3, and the Captain, Ross Memphis Pambrun. Our program is broadcast from Calgary in Region 3 of the Métis Nation of Alberta, which is part of the historic Métis Nation homeland. We also acknowledge these lands are the traditional territories of Treaty 7, Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda, with whom we share this land on the basis of our historical and ongoing relationships. You can always reach us for comment about our programming by email at tsw@thesqueakywheel.ca or find us on our website, www.squeakywheel.ca, and our socials. For our comments, it is our focus to recognize all of our First Nations and Indigenous friends, share connection with Métis settlements, and listen to and show respect to our Métis brothers and sisters and families. Here at the Squeaky Wheel, we give thanks to our elders for their guidance and to Mother Earth for her time she allows us to be here and share her bounty. From all of us at the Squeaky Wheel, Tanse.